Running the Bases with Small Businesses. I'm Randy Rohde, and I have a passion to work with small businesses, and I love baseball. So I thought, hey, let's bring them together. So every episode, I sit down with local entrepreneurs, business builders, and small business owners to talk about their wins and whiffs, their tools of the trade, and to give actionable tips to other business managers. We'll cover the bases with entrepreneurship, operations, sales, digital marketing, innovation, plus a little fun baseball talk. Thanks for joining us today. Settle in, grab your Cracker Jacks, and you know what they say, play ball! All right, Gary, take it away. I don't know the guy's name really. It's not Gary. I don't know who he is, but it's just a good sound.
That sounds good.
But he's got a good finish at the end. That's good. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Randy Rohde, and you're listening to Running the Bases with Small Businesses. This morning, I've got a great guest, Phil Rankin from Even Mix, and a few other companies, and maybe we might hear a little bit about what they are. So, Phil, great to have you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very good. It is morning, so Phil and I, this is kind of great to do the show because Phil and I are both kind of morning guys, and we have the same hairstyle, so we don't have to worry about, getting
low maintenance.
Low maintenance is right. So we're not
or no maintenance.
Yeah, right. So, Phil, Even Mix. What in the world is Even Mix?
Yeah. Thanks. So Even Mix is basically we looked at like the mixing industry and saw, what was missing out there, what customers were looking for. And we designed and patented a 3D mixing blade with variable pitch. So basically we mix drums, IBCs, containers up to, we say 1,000 gallons, but we can go a little more than that. And so, we're providing a good mix to liquids.
That's interesting. So I'm going to pull back, and I was waiting. I thought for sure you were going to say bung, because I'm like, okay, we gotta like define some terms here. So when you're saying this 3D mixing technology and IBCs, because and I will be totally upfront. Phil and I work together. He's one of our clients, and so we have a lot of fun stuff. But he did have to educate me a little bit. I'm like, what the heck is this bung thing? So what? When you're saying 3D technology and the mixing, I mean, I guess I don't think about it from those terms, or the average person may not. So what is that? And what is the IBC tote as well? I think is a whole nother concept.
No problem. I'll even define bung too.
Okay, perfect.
For our listeners' benefit. So 3D mixing is basically, a lot of mixers go just vertically, and whatever comes up must go down. So it creates a big vortex, sucks a bunch of air in. So we go 3D, meaning horizontally, vertically, and circumferentially. So we create a lot of circulation around in the container, which makes for a good mix. So that's that one. The IBC is intermediate bulk container. It's basically those big like plastic cubes that everybody sees outside of a plant. It's like 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet, usually an aluminum cage. So that kind of, carries a lot of liquid, about 300 gallons. And of course, there's drums, which are 55 gallons. And on those drums and on IBCs, there is what they call a bung. A bung is basically the opening. Be it on the top, be it on the side, wherever it is, a bung is a fitting, it's an opening.
So it's the little round, probably like 2 or 3 inch diameter.
Yeah. Usually, on a drum, anywhere from like 3/4 of an inch up to 2 inches. And then on an IBC, they're pretty much always 6 inches. They can be 9 inches, but pretty much 6.
Okay. All right. So who are your customers for this kind of technology? I mean, for this particular thing that you do?
Big chemical companies. I mean, it can be a whole variety of things, different industries, from paint to chemicals to especially like a lot of ag chemicals as well. Food industry, as of late, we've really gotten into hand sanitizer, so it's a pretty broad reach, really. I mean, once you start getting into it, I mean, people mix a lot of stuff, food. We mix honey for a company in Arkansas, different flavors into honey.
Wow.
there's a lot of stuff that gets mixed.
In business, and I know, you've gone to business school and, people always talk, even at the very basic level, they say, hey, you need to find a problem that an industry or a consumer has, create a solution, and then go present it and sell it and make gobbles of money. Hopefully that's all working for you.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I guess, the process, for Even Mix and what your approach was. How did you identify what the problem was, and maybe even a little bit of what that problem was, and then how did you begin to, really kind of engineer the solution for it?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, I bought these businesses, kind of 3 different businesses, bought them all like right around 11 and 12. So I kind of, I didn't start from scratch, start from nothing. I bought these businesses, and they kind of had the genesis of the idea for Even Mix. And I saw it as like, okay, I can buy a business, which does kind of a commoditized service, but they have this niche idea, and that's what I was really after. And, when I got kind of into it, I would say that, they were into the very basics of of solving the problem. And we've just gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's just kind of, my personality. It's like, I'm good at like taking something and taking an idea and optimizing it and taking it, way farther beyond than it is at the very beginning. But, I'm an optimizer.
All right. So, let me ask, this, because you kind of opened this door a little bit. So I guess maybe tell us about how you did get started. How, I know you've got a great business background and through a lot of different experiences, but so maybe if you'd like, kind of walk us through a little bit of some of your life experiences in business and kind of your journey through entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That is an open door, and I'm going to take it. So yeah, my background, my education. So I grew up in Iowa, and
now some people may know, but yeah. So Phil and I really kind of grew up in the same neighborhood. Kind of. I grew up in Nebraska, so we're kind of across
the river.
And yeah.
So there's a lot of fun banter that goes on there all the time.
Yes, especially during college football season.
Especially. Yeah. So yeah, grew up in Iowa, not quite a farming family ourselves. We lived on 60 acres, which for us is just kind of a gentleman's farm. And, I showed quarter horses and had animals around, cattle around and stuff like that. So got into business like right out of school, having a bachelor's in accounting. My whole family are accountants. So it's kind of a dinner table conversation for me.
Really interesting.
Yeah. It's super exciting. Yeah. My wife, Kristen, just loves it. It's some of the first Christmases we'd go back for. She's like, if your family talks about taxes one more time, she's like, I brought some board games with us this time. We're going to whip them out. So
I can only imagine. You'd need a lot of wine flowing.
Exactly. Luckily, thank God, my sister, had her first son, so then kids entered the picture, and it's like, no more tax talk.
Right,
it's all kids after that.
Always.
But anyway, so background in accounting, like a MBA, University of Chicago, while I was there doing some work. So I did Fortune 500 work for big companies, manufacturing companies for about 20 or 25 years. Great background for me. I learned a lot, from a few of those experiences, both good and bad. I definitely went through some tough times with those companies, hostile takeovers, turnaround stories. I mean, I got drugged behind the bus a lot, which is where I learned a lot. And finally kind of culminating, which is what got me to the Cleveland area. I'd moved around a lot here in the States, and then I even into Canada as well, doing turnarounds and stuff. And so what got us to Cleveland, working for a different Fortune 500 companies, like a division CFO for about $1.8 billion company in sales. So pretty good sized company. So I was like, maybe 2 feet wide and a mile deep, I would say. Yeah. So I mean, I was, pretty deep into my functional thing being a division CFO. And it was a pretty hardcore company. We always say it was like GE on steroids, aerospace type business, and pretty hardcore, is traveling a lot. So basically then, we have like a new segment president that comes in. We are division leadership. Segment president comes in, and basically kind of cleaned house with us. So all of a sudden I'm like out of a job, which had never happened to me before. So that was a big enough shock into itself. I've got little kids, and this is right before Christmas. I got little kids, they're looking at me. And to kind of, take it even further, I had a congenital heart defect, that I'd known about for a while. It's like one valve has 2 flaps instead of 3. A lot of people have it. But as soon as I came to Cleveland in about 2006, they said, Mr. Rankin, for the people that have this bicuspid valve, they said about, like 15% of them also have an expanding, a growing, an aneurysm growing, in one of their arteries. So of course they looked, I had it too. And so that was a little frightening, and they'd been watching it for a while, but of course, right, when I got let go, it's like, it's to this size, the probability of death is going up exponentially. So you need to have open heart surgery. I don't think you knew this, did you?
I did not know that.
Yeah. So all of this kind of happened at once. So out of a job, having heart surgery, I'm like 40 years old. I'm like, hey man, it's like, I work out, I take care of myself. I eat well. It's like, why am I having heart surgery? This is not fair. So, it was kind of a tough period to go through, certainly. But what I did, it's like, kind of coming out of it, seeing that look in my kids' eyes of fear, it's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's like, working for the man, working for a big company. It's like, I'm done making money for other people. It's time for me to make money for us and to expand that, grow it for the family. So I decided then, it's like, no, I'm going to find something, grow it, build it, and, build something for the future. And that's what I did. So basically, like, later on that year, I kind of identified something to acquire, a few businesses to acquire, and kind of went on with it. I did get a job, for a little while here in Cleveland, but basically that's what I launched into. And, God bless my wife, Kristen, she, she always says, she's like, you had that look in your eye, and she's like, I knew you were going to go for it. And it's like, so we were in for the journey.
Wow.
Good or bad.
That is a great story.
Yeah. So we embarked on it. And I mean, that's, to this day, I mean, that's what I do it for. I mean, it's called, legally, we're called Triad Capital Group. Why Triad Capital Group? Because I have 3 kids, and for me as an accountant, as a finance person, it's always about options.
Right.
So it's like, my plan is to grow this. And then, at the end of the day, because, hey, I'm not going to be around forever. I want, my wife and kids, to have options. Like they can work in it, they can sell it, they can do whatever they want. It's my objective to kind of build a good, investment that has perpetuity to it, kind of a growing investment. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love doing the small business stuff. I've been doing it since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So it's been going on for a long time. It began way back in Iowa on the school bus. My very first business was actually doing like custom paint jobs on Matchbox cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have not heard that one, but that's a great, nice little entrepreneurial pitch as well.
Yeah, it's a growing market. I'm thinking about getting back into it.
I think it probably could be. How did you go through the process of, I guess, maybe finding and selecting the companies that you purchase? Because there's a group here in Cleveland, I don't know if you're familiar with them, called Promise Partners. And they do, it's out of a bunch of guys out of the Case Business School. And they essentially pull guys together and do kind of what you described. Well, they are looking for businesses as individuals to essentially go buy and run and grow and operate and create some real equity. And so how did you do that? So there's that group that kind of does it and they support each other and kind of help, try to find this stuff. How did you do this? Were you on your own? Did you like, hey, I'm going to go scour Cleveland and figure out what's out there?
Yeah, it's, I knew a couple people that had done things similar to this. It definitely helped me that I had a background in accounting because, I can read financial statements pretty quickly and like get a feel for like, okay, at least of what's on paper. It's like, this is what I'm seeing in the business. You still need to talk to them and figure out what's going on. But so I just started networking. I mean, be it with individuals, through like business brokers, through groups like the one you mentioned there. I mean, there's a big M&A activity, a big M&A group in general, like around Cleveland, and a lot of people that you can bump into with this stuff. So I did a lot of networking, and I found each one of my 3 businesses a different way. The first was through, a friend of a friend. Second was through a broker. Third was through an ad and I saw on like an online listing. So all 3 were different.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was very interesting. Yes, I do have kind of a unique skill set where, like, okay, I have accounting. It's like I've done turnaround stuff with corporations. So, I was kind of like a one-man M&A team, and I was funding it with my own money, and money from the bank. Huntington was good to step in and help me out. So, it's I just kind of was a one-man wrecking ball, and the strategy, thought about it a lot myself, talked to my friends about it, talked to my wife about it. We're very different personalities, so we come at things from very different ways, and it helped me out a lot just to hash it out a lot with somebody else.
Wow, that really is impressive. So, yeah, you sought out, you picked up 3 different companies. I'm assuming kind of at 3 different times, transactions. I'm not sure on the timeline of that. Are they all winners? Did you all hit it out of the park in every one, or did you have one that was
right? Oh yeah. High and fast. Absolutely. Yeah. So three companies all bought for different reasons. And one of them, yeah. Oh no. It's like I basically flushed $100,000 down the toilet for like 5 years in a row. And then finally it was like, that's it, Phil. It's like, you can't save everything. You can't fix everything. It's over, shut that part down. But, I will say, yeah, a lot of it is, you hear how much is luck, how much is hard work. Well, even out of that one where it was like kind of that business wasn't a business I could continue. However, it's like the technology in it, as it turns out, it's okay. So one company kind of had the design and the ability to make these mixing blades. We're a metal stamping house and metal forming house, special metal stamping. And the other one that I had, American Assembly Tools, it's like pneumatic tools. Well, how do you drive these mixers? Pneumatic motors. So, we know how to make air motors. We know how to make planetary gear sets. We have all that technology. So we can do it. And we add electricity to it. We do DC motors. And I've also been very lucky where I have some good partners. Let's say when I acquired the business, there was a gentleman there. He's very interesting. He's in his late 80s. His name is Dan Shramo. He's my R&D guy, and he's a former NASA launch engineer. So he is sharp, man. That guy is really sharp, very smart. Half of our conversations are in numbers. It's
which as an accountant, you're probably like, hey, I love this. This is like, yeah. Let me get my slide rule out.
Exactly. It's like he's speaking my language. But just an incredible with physics and engineering, and I mean, he helped me a lot. Like design the. I put his name on the patent. I'm not on the patent. I put his name on the patent. We patented the blade design, and he's on it. Dan's on it. So, I mean, it took some people like that. I'm the pusher. They're like, oh yeah, we have this air motor business. I'm like, hang on. I'm like, we need to figure out how to get that. Oh, it's not going to work. I'm like, it is going to work.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you it's going to work. We need to find a way how.
Well, that's terrific. You had a great vision and the way that it's worked then, so that you've got some great synchronicity between the businesses, integration, help each other, and continue to grow from that. That's fortunate or planned or a little bit of luck sometimes. Sometimes the best businesses are because it's a little bit of luck, or you were there when the opportunity was. You were ready, I guess, is what this statement is. You're ready when the opportunity comes, and that can drive your own luck.
Yeah. I'd say ready. It's like that. That's a big part. A lot of it is, your mindset, how you approach things.
Right.
Another part's like, of course, like, do you have the intelligence? Do you have the horsepower to back it up? Which, I'm not sure that I do, but I have the hard work. I'm willing to work hard on it. So it's like, I've always relished, and I do good in situations where there's change, where there's uncertainty. It's like I get kind of that fear behind me. I experience it. I go through it, but I get through it quickly. And then I move on to, all right, now what are we going to do?
You threw out a phrase that I wanted to go down as well, which was mindset. And the mindset is I don't want to say challenging, but it's always, you do have to have a certain mindset. And I think it's as a challenge for a small business owner, because often you are the guy at the top, right? You're the boss, you're the leader. And as you begin to think about your business and is it working? Is it not working? What direction should we go? Often you're not going to go have those conversations, depending upon, with the team that you've built around you. And so how do you keep on track with the right mindset and that sounding board? Where do you find that? What have you found as a business owner kind of in that seat now? Oh, what do I do now? Who do I talk with?
I'll tell you that's a great question, because for me, like I said, I'm an accountant by training. And so as you can imagine, it's like, and sure, I was born in 1970. So growing up in that time, it's like, my parents went through tough times here and there. I had no idea. They tell me about these things later. I'm like, what happened? How come I didn't know anything about this? They really shielded us my sister and I from a lot of this, and they kept a lot of it to themselves. So number one, that's my upbringing. Number two, I'm an accountant. So it's like my brain is kind of wired to like, let's keep it, let's solve it. It's all a Rubik's Cube going off in my mind all the time. But one thing, that I learned kind of early on with a group, so there's an entrepreneurs organization, a group I'm involved with, that has helped me a lot. And a lot of it is because you talk a lot about your feelings, your feelings and what are you feeling in this situation? It is that group of like, okay, they're all business owners. We get together once a month and we talk about a lot of aspects like, personal, family, business, community. What's the best? What's the worst? What's the 5% of stuff that we're not telling anybody else? We're not telling our family. We can't talk to our friends. Who do we talk to about this stuff? And so it is a lot of those challenges, and a lot of it is we share a lot. We don't say like, Randy, you should do this. It's like, well, Randy, that's an interesting challenge you're up against. I've faced that before, and in my experience, I did this, and I'll share this gift with you. I'll share my experience with you and tell you exactly what happened, and this is what I did, and maybe like I killed it. It worked great, or man, I went down in flames. Like, it was bad.
That is such a great way to share information or advice, I think. And I now my wife will attest to this. I do not like criticism. I really bristle, but I do want it though.
Right.
I want to hear some feedback. That is such a great way, and like kind of it doesn't put the person feel like they got to be defensive about anything. It's like,
right.
I understand your challenge. I've dealt with something similar. Right?
Oh yeah.
And, that's a great way. I love that.
Yeah. And we talk about like these groups. It is like it's amazing connection experience to like have somebody share their experiences with you, and you're like, oh, man, as a business owner, it's like, obviously like COVID-19, everybody in the world is in this, but let's say for argument's sake, it's like my COVID-19 began like a year ago. I had a customer that lost a piece of business, and of course, and that trickled right down to me and hit me, and it was a big piece. So, man, I've been struggling for a year, and it's like as you're going through that, you feel like you're on an island. It's like, oh, and as an entrepreneur, I do this, and I'm sure a lot of others do it. I identify a lot of it with my personal self-worth. It's like business is not doing well. It's like, I'm an idiot,
Right. Yeah.
I take a lot of it personally, and it's hard not to.
Right.
But, with this group, it's like you share experiences, and they're like, hey, in the downturn in 2008, this is what I went through. And so they've helped me a lot with that, my EO group, and, just other coaches like, Detroit, Todd Palmer, he helped me some. He helped me at the beginning of COVID-19 kind of flip my mindset real quick. So by sharing that, and also a big part of that is you share experiences, and I can't control what you do, Randy, but I can control my own mindset, and I can control how I approach things. And instead of a situation, it's like, instead of saying, well, Randy did this, it's like, just take it all on myself. What can I do? What can I do to influence the situation? What can I do? How am I getting in the way? Let me get myself out of the way. Let's let Randy flourish and do this thing. Maybe our situation isn't going good because I'm constraining you somehow. Well, how can I get you in the right spot to where we're all better off?
Yeah. I think that's such a great message, and especially in today's environment, today's world, because you mentioned the COVID-19, and so many small businesses are just like shaking, right? I remember when, all of this sudden kind of that mid-March, like the 15th, 16th of March or something like that, when things started shutting down, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be horrific. And that very next week, I started calling our clients directly. Hey, let's talk about this. How is this going to impact? What can we do for you? How can we ramp up and really think about our marketing and our strategy in a different way in this particular environment? And I have to tell you, these people were afraid. I mean, and rightfully so, because all of a sudden, I was in this boat. Things were just humming along great and very happy in the direction. And then all of a sudden, completely out of their control.
Oh, yeah.
It just severed.
Right.
And similar, I had to kind of go through a process of, I was mad, you kind of go through this grieving kind of process. I was mad. And then eventually, I remember I was working on a Saturday here in the office, and I came home and I told my wife and said, Kathy, I'm over it. I got it. I'm of the mindset now that now I'm going to control it.
Yeah.
What can I do to figure this out and go forward and find the opportunity in it? And it's hard to do that. And especially when you're running a business day to day and you're in the weeds of it, if you would. See, I held my tongue there. I was almost going to say something different. And you've trying to figure this out. It's so easy to be so myopic and not get over it. And it's hard. That mindset is hard. And so I guess the lesson in this segment of the conversation is find people you can talk with safely and honestly, and be as transparent as you can, I think, in that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I like I said, it's not natural for me, but, I've definitely learned it's like, hey, the more open I am and the more transparent I am about my feelings and my situations, then I find relation to other folks and it comes back to me quickly. Very quickly it comes back to me. Yeah. And, so you remind me of, I did a couple things. So first, I did a post kind of at the beginning of the COVID-19, Facebook, and it was just what I was thinking at the time. And I don't do that a whole lot. And I said, I don't have a fever. I don't have shortness of breath. I don't have any of the signs of COVID except for fear. That's the only symptom I really have. And you know what? It's like, I'm not going to let that get me down. So fear is not going to hold me down. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people are like, right on. Like, I hear what you're saying and I'm with you, man. Yeah. And that was great. I mean, it made me feel really good just to express it. And then of course, as soon as I expressed it, I mean, I had it coming back to me in 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I remember that post too. I thought, yes, you're right on target. All right, Phil. So it's that time of the game here.
And it's time for the 7th inning stretch.
Here we go. Now, Phil, do you like to sing?
Sure, sometimes. Not really.
All right. Well, I'm not going to make you sing this morning.
Thank you.
I don't know that I want to hear that.
I don't think your audience would appreciate it.
I don't think so. However, I do want to ask you a question. So are you the more traditional kind of 7th inning stretch kind of guy when it's that time? Do you want to get up and sing, Take Me Out to the Ball Game? Or are you a more contemporary, there's that other song that's gotten a lot of recognition out there now, that Sweet Caroline. Are you like, that's a great song too in the 7th inning? Where do you lean, traditional or contemporary?
I would say that I go with the crowd. Man, I'm in the moment. So when I'm there at, wherever it is, Wrigley, maybe even Comiskey, well, wherever it is.
Yeah, I will tell you. So I was a lifelong Cubs fan, and I'm sorry, I love Cleveland as well. I rooted for the Indians. I still root for them every game when they play. But yeah. There's nothing like being at Wrigley when they're playing, like, all right, everybody, let's get up, man on one. And they go through it. It's like, that's like, nirvana right there.
Absolutely.
But I love that, being of the crowd. And so this is a great recording of exactly what they do at a nemesis of the Indians there, the Red Sox.
Oh,
But I love this song in baseball, and as people, the purists are kind of like, oh, but this song is like got such great crescendo, and the crowd gets into it, right? I love this part. Yeah, there you go. How can you not?
You can't help it.
Yeah, you're just like. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's all fun. All right.
That's great stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So the 7th inning stretch, we didn't do any singing, but we had a little fun anyway. So
that's all right. I got a few bop-ons in there.
We got got a few cheers. All right. All right. So let's kind of get back to the conversation here a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about marketing and where you find. So earlier on you talked about, some of the different customer segments that you have, agricultural, distilleries, other industrial or commercial kind of uses. How do you reach those customers now? What is kind of your strategy that you built in trying to connect with those folks?
Yeah. So it is a little bit different for different industries, but the one that we use a lot for ag and chemicals and, especially, this hand sanitizer. And I can talk about that. A quick pivot we did there a little bit. When I started thinking about our business, I can tell you way back to the very beginning, I thought, okay, so we're making this mixer and, 55 gallons in IBCs. So, I could get a truck, I could get a trailer, I could get an air compressor, a generator, and I could, be out in their parking lot. And, it's like, hey, Randy, why don't you come down out in the parking lot and I'll show you how this thing works. Well, that's a little creepy. You're like, Phil, are you going to kidnap me? And am I going to show up handcuffed, in a farm somewhere in Iowa, or what's going to happen? Yeah. So it's like, all right, that's probably not going to work. So what's a great way to get our customers to be able to see what we're doing and experience it, and it not be invasive on their day? Well, videos. So, we've been shooting YouTube videos for a long time. So we've been producing those, putting them out there on our YouTube channel. That's a great way for us to reach people. Our website, we've been doing a lot of work on our website. We have an online store on our website. You can buy straight from there. Most people call in, and I love talking to people. I know far more about mixing than I should. If you asked me 15 years ago something about mixing, it's like, I don't know, stick a spoon in there and stir it up. That's all there is to do. I know far more about it than I should, really. But so we shot a lot of videos. We've redone our website several times. You work on your logo. And then, we did a lot of Google ads, like paid for clicks. So we've been doing that for a little while. You and I have worked together obviously on SEO. So the more organic, like search engine optimization, writing blogs, doing those videos, produced videos, you stepped up our video production quite a bit. Anyway, so it's like, that SEO and, so for example, it's like, so like about 8 weeks ago, I got a call from a customer in Dubai, and okay, Phil, looking at doing this and this, and, what are you going to be doing? Well, I'm going to be making hand sanitizer. This is on like a Thursday or Friday. I'm like, that's interesting, because we're just beginning to hear about COVID, hand sanitizer, wash your hands. I'm like I said, I may not see things a mile away, but when they're there, I get it, and I know how to optimize it. So right that weekend, it's like wrote a blog, pushed it out on FaceTime and LinkedIn, obviously had it right on my website. And, then within Google Ads, created a little Google ad campaign specifically for it. And it's like, I don't nail everything right out of the chute, nobody does, right? I mean, that's life. That's being real.
Right.
So, sure, it's like I put it out there, and of course, very first, it's like, one of my AdWords, one of my keywords was hand sanitizer or making hand sanitizer. Well, come on. It's like everybody in the world was Googling that. So, I blew my entire budget in 5 minutes on a word, word that didn't even mean anything. But, you watch it, you plan, do, check, act. It's like I had a plan. I did it, and then I checked it. It's like, no, that's not what I was going after. So I act. So I changed the words. So now I'm mixing hand sanitizer, mixed hand sanitizer. Well, I'm still getting huge amount of hits, and it's the audience that I want. So it's like now I'm talking a lot of my day to hey, Phil, this is such and such distillery from New Orleans. It's like, hey, we're looking at making hand sanitizer, or like somebody in St. Louis or LA or all over the US and Europe and Canada, lots in Canada, just around the world, Asia. They're calling us because we're showing up, we're showing up organically for mixing hand sanitizer. We're showing up with Google AdWords. We're producing a video. We got a video out there now for hand sanitizer. And it's like, I know a fair amount about it now. It's like, I didn't know that much 3 months ago. But, for me, it's like I said, at the very beginning of COVID-19, it's like, sure, I had a lot of fear. It's like, but you got to get over that. You got to, strap up your boots and keep moving, man. It's like, just keep running. Just keep running.
Right.
So fine, we pivot, we go on that, and it's been a good market for us.
Yeah. So you really kind of walked through a great description of the process from a strategy around content and utilizing content. So as we optimize that content to really take advantage of the SEO, that search engine optimization, to really focus in on kind of the user intent when they're down at their computer and they're going to Google, how does that user, what is that inquiry string that they're typing in? Like, how do I mix hand sanitizer? That's the phrase, that we're trying to pick up and optimize the content around, and then distributing that and through a lot of different methods, and beginning to create activity from it in a lot of different ways. You talk about video. So one of the things as well, I have this conversation frequently, and we plan this into the strategy with many of our clients, which is content creation. A lot of times it circulates around video because video is so powerful, engages, it's crazy numbers that you could throw out, the significant higher frequency of engagement of users utilizing video. They stay on your website longer, they watch it, they act on it. I'm going to play a little bit. This is one of your videos. And this is great.
Hi, Phil Rankin of Even Mix, here to show you our drum mixer for closed heads. This 15-inch folding blade fits inside a 2-inch side bung. Watch and see how. The Even Mix closed head drum mixer is a revolution to the drum market. Never before have you been able to insert into a closed head a mixing blade as large and capable of mixing your liquids. The Even Mix is the answer to your mixing challenges.
There we go. Nice little sales pitch in there for you.
That's great.
I think you even say bung in that one. And
Who is that guy?
Yeah,
he is awesome.
Yeah, right. What? It is too bad this is a podcast, because the video actually is terrific, because you could see then, we've got this transparent drum with the blade going in and doing its mixing magic, and this material is, whirling around in there. And so you can see it all, fabulous on the video. So video is fabulous. It is absolutely a great medium. Here's a challenge that many of my clients are like, and especially, so we're sitting in here in our studio where we do a lot of videography. I get clients, we shoot them, and this is inevitably, probably 97%. We look at it. Oh my gosh, I don't look like that. I can't do that. No way. I don't sound like that. Do I really sound like that? And they completely freak out, and then they're almost ready just to kill the whole project.
Oh.
So how did you
get over yourself?
Yeah, exactly. How did you overcome that? Because you actually do. I mean, before we started working, you already had quite a bit of a video library out there online. Yeah. How did you get over that? You just hey, I don't care. I'm a farm boy from Iowa, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, right on, man. I mean, there's. There's nothing you can't solve.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
We can, I could find the solution to anything if I really had to, if I needed to. And, I know I mentioned at the beginning, I what's my why? I do it a lot for my kids, for growing. I involve them a lot in the business. And, my daughter Elizabeth, she shot a lot of the videos with me, and she worked with me. It's like, okay, technically I'm 49, although I'm saying I'm 48. I'm refusing to move forward at all.
Do you get called boomer? My 14-year-old son calls me boomer every other day. Okay, boomer.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm Generation X. Yeah. It's like those are the older guys, the boomers.
Well, unfortunately, I am boomer. So
just barely. You're just a little bit ahead of me.
Yeah.
But point being, it's like okay, so I'm almost in the 50 age, right? It's like so. I'm like, hey, Elizabeth, my kid's like, what do your favorite YouTube videos look like? Like, who does it well? How do I do this? You know, and they're like, okay, Dad, like, so we're going to set up like this. We're going to make it look like this. Or like, it doesn't matter what the rest of the plant looks like around you. It's like, it's just right here. And then I'll tell you a perspective that I always try to take in the videos. It's like, it's not just me and the camera. In my mind, I'm like reaching through that camera and I'm having like a personal conversation with, you know, whoever it may be, maybe Gus in New Orleans, you know, it may be anybody else. It's like, you know, I'm having a personal conversation. I get excited about mixers. Maybe it's a little weird.
Okay, you are an accountant. I see it, yeah.
Maybe it is a little weird, but, you know, it's what I've got, man. It's what I'm working with. So I have a lot of fun with it. You know, why not?
Good,
why not?
Good.
You know,
so you've got a great story that you shared with me. So around those videos, the video and the content that you've got online about what it has done for you from a recognition standpoint. Maybe. I'll lead it into that maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and yes, I'm a conservative Midwest accountant, blah, blah, blah. And I'm shooting these videos and I'm envisioning my way through the camera. And yeah, I was out at a client like in Texas. It was a few months ago and walking around there, we're going around the plant and one of the guys like, hey, it's like, that's the guy from the YouTube videos. And they're like, man, you're awesome. And it's like, you know, we love watching those. It's like, wow. It's like, this is a strange feeling for me.
And didn't he call you like the mixer guy? You're the mixer guy.
Exactly. It's like, you're that even mix guy. You're the mixer guy. I'm like, right on. You know, I actually, I do have a friend here in Chagrin that calls me like Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Maybe we should add that to your card or on your door, right? Sir Mix-a-Lot or the mixer guy. That
Absolutely.
Would be good. Right on your
I
resume.
love it. I think it's awesome.
Well, you know, we laugh about that, but that is such a great example about building and expanding your brand. So video and content has that incredible reach well beyond anything that you think. So there's a guy down in Texas that knows the Mixie. The Sir Mix-a-Lot, right? But your stuff can go everywhere. You said you had a call from Dubai because they saw. That's the power, I think, of when you start strategically and intentionally building your brand. That's just a great story with that.
Yeah.
So in thinking about, you know, strategy and as a business leader, and I'm sure in your world and as focused, as intent as you are, you're thinking about, and have to, what's over the horizon, right? What's the next kind of piece? And that's another one of those challenges. One of the things that I always do, the first conversation and first discovery meeting that we have with clients, I always ask them, hey, how do you see your business in 3 to 5 years? I'm always somewhat surprised that they really don't have a good response for that. That there's a lot of like, well, you know, they're so focused on, I want to grow our business, you know, this week, this month, you know, the next 6 months, this is what, you know, but, you know, our approach is, well, where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And that's how we're going to build our strategy in order to make that happen. And I think that it's really essential. It's a hard skill, you know, it's a muscle you got to exercise, you know, to kind of stay focused on that. Listening to you here this morning, you've got that muscle. You know, so how do you approach it? Do you have some method, or how do you approach strategy? And I don't know, what's down the road for you guys?
Very interesting question. So, you know, it brings a few things to mind for me. So one thing, you know, when we talk about, I think that a lot of people get stuck working in your business instead of on your business. You know, I was in the 10,000 small business, the Goldman Sachs program, you know, a few years ago now. And a lot of that's focused on growth. And they're always saying like, don't work in your business, work on your business. And that, you know, that's very true. It's like, I liken it to, I'm always thinking about, it's like, where am I now? But, you know, of course, where am I going? And I think like, you know, as a dad, you know, and in scouting and stuff, it's like, you're always thinking, where am I now? But I got to prepare for the future because like 5 minutes from now is not now, you know, 2 days from now is not now. It's a different situation. You know, it could be different weather, it could be different economy. Something's going to change. So you've always got to be thinking ahead. So sure, it's like, you know, even with like this hand sanitizer thing, well, man, we're rocking in it right now. We're just killing it. So I'm not asking too many questions. I'm trying to keep up with it right now. And heck, you know, commitment to small business, I'll tell you, I slept in my plant for like 3 nights over the last few weeks, to keep a machine going. It's like, we got to keep making our deliveries. We need to get these out of there. It's a good business thing, and it's a good moral and ethical thing to do. We're doing our part to help out. So I'm happy to do that, and it's like, I want to keep making. You can hear it in their voices. They want them. They need that stuff. Yeah. So it's like, all right, we got to get it out to them. So I'm going to stay committed and do it. It's not going to last forever. Sure, it's going to trail off over time. It's not going to last forever. So sure, it's like I'm saying, okay, great. I'm going to work this one hard, and I'm going to use some of the money that I make from this, bit of a time period, and use it to grow more into ag, and get more. There's so much opportunity for us in the drum market, with the big manufacturers here in the U.S. And they've been around a long time. It's just a little harder to get new technology into them, and we're the totally new technology, which is like just kills what they've got right now. Flat out kills it. But we're growing into some of those areas, and like I said, ag. It's springtime. You're in Nebraska, I'm Iowa. We both know it's like it is go time in the Midwest.
Right on.
So, and all those guys are waking up or not waking up, but they're getting into the field.
They've been up for a while, Phil.
Yeah. I know. It's a farmer genes. Like
it is. Yeah.
I always tell you, I woke up at 4 and those guys got up at 3.
Yes.
They're always going to beat, my cousins are always going to beat me up. So anyway, but and they're like pulling out this fertilizer that they bought in November, and it's been sitting there since November. It's all settled out. And now it's like, all right, I need to use this stuff. It's like, I got to mix it up somehow. So of course it's like, stick an air wand in it, shake it around a lot.
Right.
It's never going to work very well. Maybe they'll get it to work, so our product has a huge use there. So we're trying to push a lot more into the ag market, and, we're finding a lot of acceptance. People are like, yeah, that thing really does work well. We know that. We're just trying to communicate it out to our customers as effectively as we can. Hey man, this thing works. It's like, we're competitively priced. It works really well. Let's have a conversation. Let's, call me and let's talk about it, man. It's like, if I'm not the best solution for it, I'll tell you. I'm not a hardcore salesman. It's like, I'm trying to help you out.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay. So last, we're kind of coming into the 9th inning here. Last question for you. So what advice? So I'm going to call you the old seasoned veteran, right? No. You're coming back for your, you're not on your final round of your contract yet, but you've got a couple of good contracts out in front of you.
Takes a lot more stretching now.
Yeah. So what advice? So you got, I'll call them rookies, but, you've got maybe new business owners, business builders, some guys that have been, just jumping into it over the last year or 2 years or so. Challenging time right now, especially. What kind of advice do you have kind of from your position in the game?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because actually, ironically, it's like I've had a high school senior shadowing me for the last couple of weeks. And so I told my kids, they're like, what are you talking to Danny about all the time? Like, it would drive you guys crazy, but I'm like, I'm basically sharing all of my advice as a dad, as a father, as a leader, and as a business person all the time with this guy. And they're like, oh God, that must be painful. So what kind of advice do I share with them? A lot of it is like, okay, if you want to get into business, if you want to start your own business, you probably ought to go work for somebody else for a little while, somebody in that industry, somebody running a good business. Because I reflect back upon, the first company I worked for out of Chicago, worked for them for 10 years, and it was a well-run company. We ran into problems, like everybody does, but it was a well-run company. I find myself reflecting upon those lessons all the time. And, sure, I'm running my own enterprise now and have been for like 12 years. And it's not all easy, but I always reflect back on those learnings. So I say, work for somebody else for a while. And, network and surround yourself with good people. When I've been working in the drum industry, ran into one guy like Andy Deutsch, Fangled Tech, and he's really good, smart guy. So we worked together, and we've been working on a lot of these marketing programs together. So it's like, get some industry experience. You're probably not going to become Mark Cuban, the day that you walk out of college.
Right.
I'd love if it did sometimes, but it just doesn't work like that. You gotta pay your dues. You got to learn, it's just all part of learning and growing some experience. I mean, when I hire people, I look for people, what I call it, it's like you've been drugged behind the bus for a while. I mean, I have.
Great phrase.
Yeah, I have, and I know what lessons it taught me, and I've learned a lot of those lessons, and I look for people that have learned those lessons. I've done hard stuff, man. I mean, my worst job ever, growing up in Iowa, I walked beans once.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Don't even bring that. Did you detassel as well?
No, I was smart enough to avoid detasseling.
I did both of those, yeah.
I walked beans for $1 an hour.
Oh man, you had it. That was a good gig.
You were on the 50-cent train, right?
Exactly.
So, but I did those hard jobs, and it's like, man, it's like we would, my buddy and I, like, we'd go to Des Moines, that weekend, and we'd drive around the nice parts of town. It's like, this is why we're working hard, buddy.
Yep.
This is why we're doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think, to kind of relate it, almost every good ball player's got to put a little bit of time in the minors, right?
Yeah.
You got to
sure.
you got to ride the bus a little bit, or as you say, get dragged behind the bus.
Yeah.
Sounds
Riding
like
in the bus
racing. I don't know.
It's a lot more comfortable than getting pulled behind it.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining us today and being on the show. Really appreciate it. It's been great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I love sharing this stuff.
Yeah, good.
Hopefully it was worthwhile for somebody.
Yeah, no, I think it will be. All right. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. If you have found this podcast interesting, of course, we'd love for you to share it, review it, and of course, subscribe. Running the Bases with Small Businesses is brought to you by 38 Digital Market, a digital marketing agency committed to client growth with lead generation, higher conversions, and increased sales. Connect with us today at 38digitalmarket.com.